When Scooby and the gang arrive at the old mansion atop the hill, an eerie silence surrounds them. Locals whisper that the mirrors don't just reflect, they reveal hidden memories and forgotten secrets. But what if those reflections aren't illusions? As shadows flicker in the cracked glass, one question lingers: what really happened here? And, more importantly, can they escape before the house traps them forever? Scooby, Shaggy, Velma, and Daphne pulled up in the mystery machine at the edge of town, staring up at the silhouette of the mansion looming against the dusky sky. The house stood isolated on a hill, its dark windows like watchful eyes. The air felt thick with unease, the kind that prickled skin and silenced the usual sounds of the night. Locals had been whispering for years about strange happenings inside, mirrors that didn't just reflect, but revealed memories long buried. Now, the mayor had called them for help, fearing the past was creeping dangerously close. As they stepped out, Velma adjusted her glasses, scanning the wrought iron gate twisted with rust. This place looks abandoned, but those stories about the mirrors? They sound like more than just ghost tales. Daphne's eyes flickered nervously toward the mansion's entrance. If the mirrors really show things from the past, what are they hiding? And why now? Shaggy, clutching Scooby's collar, muttered, I don't want to end up stuck in one of those creepy reflections, man. They entered the foyer, where cracked tiles reflected their cautious steps. The grand hall was draped in dust and shadows, but the first thing that caught their eyes was a massive, fractured mirror above the fireplace. Its cracks spider-webbed across the glass, but beneath them, something flickered, an image not quite matching their own reflections. Velma's breath caught as she stared. The mirror showed a room filled with candlelight and figures dressed decades ago, whispering urgently. "Is that a vision?" she whispered. Scooby took a hesitant step forward, his nose twitching. Suddenly, the flickering image shifted, now showing a young woman's face, pale and terrified, eyes pleading for help. Daphne gasped, "That must be the missing heiress." The group exchanged uneasy looks. Were the mirrors truly windows into a dark past? Could they trust what they saw? Before they could react, the flickering image dissolved, replaced by a shadow moving behind the glass. It was a figure no one else in the room could see, a silent watcher in the reflection. Shaggy yelped, "Zoinks! Did you guys see that?" Velma's fingers traced the cold frame. "This isn't just about ghosts. There's a secret here, a truth trapped behind the glass, waiting for us to uncover it." But at what cost? A sudden chill swept through the room as the front door slammed shut behind them. The mirrors began to shimmer in unison, reflecting not just their faces, but fragments of a story that had been buried for too long. The question hung heavy: what horrors did these mirrors hide, and how long before they trapped the gang inside their fractured depths forever? The mansion's heavy silence pressed down on the gang as they ventured deeper into its shadowed corridors. Every footstep seemed magnified in the eerie stillness, bouncing off cracked walls and tall, dust-laden mirrors that lined the hallways like sentinels of forgotten memories. The mirrors, some framed in tarnished gold and others cracked and splintered, seemed almost to breathe, rippling faintly as if alive beneath the glass. Daphne's eyes darted nervously from one reflection to another. "It's like the mirrors aren't just showing us our reflections, they're watching us," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Velma, ever the skeptic, pulled out her flashlight and aimed its narrow beam at one particularly ornate mirror. At first, it reflected the dim corridor behind her, but then, for a brief, heart-stopping moment, another figure appeared standing just beyond their reach. It was motionless, its eyes locked on the gang, before vanishing like a wisp of smoke. "Did you see that?" Velma asked, voice low but tense. Scooby whimpered softly, his tail between his legs. Shaggy swallowed hard, trying to joke, but his voice cracked, "Maybe this house is full of more than just old mirrors." Velma's fingers brushed across the dusty surface of a long-neglected table where a leather-bound diary lay buried beneath cobwebs. Opening it carefully, she read aloud faded, trembling script that spoke of a dark ritual. An ancient attempt to trap a restless spirit within the mansion's mirrors. This explains the strange sightings, Velma said slowly. Someone tried to imprison a soul here, sealing its pain and secrets inside the glass, but the ritual went wrong. Now the mirrors are haunted by that trapped spirit, or maybe more than one. Daphne's breath caught as she looked into a large mirror at the corner of the room. The glass shimmered and shifted, like water disturbed by an unseen force. Suddenly, it displayed vivid scenes from the mansion's past, echoes of laughter, whispers of heated arguments, and then a sudden, chilling silence. The images focused on a young woman, the mansion's heiress, pleading desperately with someone out of sight. "She's trapped in the mirrors," Daphne whispered, her voice trembling. "She's trying to warn us, or maybe asking for help." Suddenly, the mansion groaned as if alive, and somewhere in the next room, a glass panel shattered, sending shards tinkling down a long staircase. Scooby and Shaggy froze in place, their reflections multiplying and warping in the surrounding mirrors. "Zoinks, this place is messing with our heads," Shaggy said, voice shaky. Velma called out firmly, "Stay together. Don't let the mirrors confuse you." But even she struggled to keep her balance as the hallways warped, reflections twisting into nightmarish distortions. Regrouping near the grand staircase, Velma's sharp eyes caught a tiny crack spreading across one of the large mirrors. "This might be our only way to break the curse," she said urgently. "If we can figure out how the ritual was performed, and why it failed, maybe we can free whoever is trapped here, and ourselves." But before they could plan further, the shadows inside the mirrors darkened and coalesced into a chilling silhouette, an ominous presence that seemed to watch their every move, waiting to trap them in the glass forever. As the group exchanged uneasy glances, the mansion whispered secrets through creaks and sighs. Each mirror seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own, the line between reality and reflection blurring dangerously. Would the gang be able to separate truth from illusion before the house swallowed them whole? The mansion's oppressive atmosphere thickened as the gang descended the grand staircase, their footsteps muffled by years of dust and neglect. Each step creaked beneath them, a chorus of warning in the cavernous space. At the base, a long hallway stretched before them, lined on both sides by mirrors that seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. Velma shone her flashlight along the walls, her brow furrowed as the beam revealed fleeting glimpses of ghostly figures caught in the glass. "This place feels like it's alive," Daphne murmured, gripping Scooby's collar tightly. Shaggy swallowed nervously, eyes darting from one shimmering reflection to the next. I'm pretty sure those mirrors are watching us. They're not just showing what's behind us, they're showing things we shouldn't see." Velma approached a particularly ornate mirror framed in cracked silver, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns. According to the diary, the heiress vanished under mysterious circumstances decades ago. These mirrors might be holding pieces of her story, fragments of truth hidden behind layers of illusion. Suddenly, the mirror flickered. The gang gasped as the glass rippled and the image of the young woman appeared again, her eyes pleading, her voice silent but screaming through the reflection. Scooby growled softly, ears pinned back. "Ruro," he muttered, sensing the rising danger. The mirror's surface shimmered, and a whisper echoed softly through the hall, indistinct but chilling. Daphne leaned closer, straining to catch the words. "It's like the house itself is trying to speak to us," she said. "But why? And what does it want?" Before Velma could answer, a sudden chill swept through the corridor. The mirrors began to tremble, the reflections distorting violently as if reacting to an unseen force. Shaggy stumbled backward, knocking into a nearby mirror that cracked with a sharp snap. The shattered glass revealed a hidden passageway, dark and narrow, leading into the unknown depths of the mansion. "Looks like the mansion wants us to go deeper," Velma said, her eyes alight with determination. "If the answers are hidden behind these mirrors, that passage might be the key." The gang exchanged uneasy looks but knew they had no choice. With Scooby leading cautiously, they stepped into the darkness, their reflections flickering wildly on the broken glass around them. Inside the passage, the air grew colder, thick with the scent of forgotten secrets. Whispered voices seemed to echo from the walls, fragments of conversations, cries for help, warnings. Velma's flashlight beam caught a faded inscription carved into the stone: "Beware the one who watches through the glass, trust no reflection, for some are lies." Daphne shivered. This place is warning us, but about what? Suddenly, a loud bang echoed behind them as the passageway sealed shut. Panic surged through the group. "We're trapped!" Shaggy exclaimed, voice trembling. Velma steadied herself, her mind racing. "We need to stay calm. These mirrors may be dangerous, but the truth is in the reflections. We have to find the original mirror, the one where it all began." As the walls seemed to close in, the gang realized the mansion was no ordinary haunted house. It was a labyrinth of illusions and truths, and their only hope was to unravel the mystery before the reflections consumed them all. The narrow passageway seemed to stretch endlessly before them, its walls lined with fractured mirrors that warped their reflections into grotesque shapes. Each step they took echoed through the darkness, mingling with faint whispers that swirled like a cold breeze. Daphne clutched Scooby tightly, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. "It's like the mansion is alive, twisting reality around us," she whispered. Velma's flashlight cut through the gloom, illuminating ancient carvings and strange symbols etched into the stone walls. "These symbols match those in the diary," she said, flipping through the fragile pages. "It looks like the ritual was meant to trap not just a spirit, but memories, fragments of time locked inside these mirrors." Her voice was steady, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. But something went horribly wrong. Shaggy shuffled nervously, glancing behind them where the sealed entrance shimmered faintly in the dim light. I don't like being stuck in a creepy maze of mirrors," he muttered, voice cracking. "What if we never find a way out?" Scooby whimpered in agreement. Suddenly, one mirror ahead flickered violently, and a ghostly figure appeared, the young heiress from the reflections, her eyes filled with sorrow and urgency. "Help me," her voice echoed softly, barely audible, "before it's too late." Daphne stepped forward, reaching toward the glass, but the figure vanished before her fingers could touch the surface. Velma's gaze sharpened. "She's trying to communicate with us, to guide us through this maze. But we have to be careful. Not all reflections tell the truth." She turned to the gang. "We need to find the original mirror, the one that started the curse. If we break it, maybe we can free her. And ourselves." As they pressed onward, the mirrors began to distort reality more aggressively. Hallways looped back on themselves, reflections multiplied infinitely, and the shadows seemed to whisper secrets meant to mislead. At one point, Shaggy found himself staring at a mirror showing a terrified version of himself, pleading for help. "That's not me," he said shakily. "That's some trick." Daphne tried to stay calm but felt her own reflection flicker into an alternate, sinister version. Smiling cruelly back at her. "This place is playing with our minds," she said, voice barely a whisper. "We can't trust what we see." Hours seemed to pass as they navigated the labyrinthine halls, each turn more disorienting than the last. Velma's flashlight flickered, and the group stopped in a vast chamber filled with mirrors from floor to ceiling. In the center stood a large, cracked mirror framed in black and silver, its surface pulsing faintly, as if alive. "This must be it," Velma said, stepping closer with a mix of awe and dread. "The original mirror, the source of the curse." As they prepared to confront the darkness trapped within, the mansion trembled violently. Shadows spilled from the mirrors, swirling like smoke, and a chilling voice filled the chamber. "You shouldn't have come," it hissed. "Now, you'll never leave." The gang braced themselves, knowing that the final confrontation was near. And that the line between reality and illusion would shatter forever. The air in the grand chamber thickened as the gang stood before the ancient mirror, its cracked surface pulsing like a heartbeat in the dim light. The shadows that had seeped from the glass coiled around the room, whispering threats and forgotten secrets that seemed to claw at their very souls. Velma's eyes narrowed as she studied the mirror's dark frame, etched with symbols that hinted at a power both arcane and malevolent. "This mirror is more than just a barrier," Velma said softly, voice steady despite the tension. "It's a prison, for the heiress, and for something far darker." She turned to Scooby and Shaggy, who looked ready to bolt. "But if we don't face it now, none of us will get out." Suddenly, the glass rippled and a pale, translucent figure emerged, the heiress, her face a mask of sorrow and desperation. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the growing roar of the mansion. "He trapped me here, and he's coming." "Who?" Daphne asked, stepping closer despite the chill that crept up her spine. Before the heiress could answer, a dark shadow detached itself from the mirror's depths, a twisting, formless presence that radiated malice. It advanced with a chilling smile, eyes gleaming like shattered glass. "You cannot break the curse," it hissed. "You will be trapped here, forever a part of the reflections." Shaggy gulped. That's definitely not the kind of reflection I want." Velma steadied herself and pulled out the diary, flipping to the ritual's final page. "The key to breaking the curse lies in the mirror's reflection. If we can confront the shadow within and shatter the glass at the right moment, we can free the heiress and ourselves." The room trembled as the shadow lunged, and the gang scattered, dodging blasts of cold air that threatened to freeze them in place. Scooby barked fiercely, his bravery ignited by fear. Daphne called out, "Velma, what do we do?" Velma's mind raced. "We have to coordinate," Shaggy and Scooby distracted while Daphne and I focus on the mirror. As Shaggy and Scooby darted around, weaving through distorted reflections, Velma and Daphne positioned themselves by the ancient mirror. The shadow's voice echoed through the chamber, promising endless torment, but Velma's resolve only hardened. "Now," she shouted. Together, Velma and Daphne smashed their fists against the glass. Cracks spiderwebbed outward, and the shadow shrieked, writhing in agony as shards of mirror exploded in a brilliant flash. The heiress's ghostly form smiled, her eyes finally free of sorrow. "Thank you," she whispered, fading into a gentle light that washed over the room. The oppressive weight lifted as the mansion seemed to exhale. The remaining mirrors cleared, reflections returning to normal. Scooby wagged his tail, and Shaggy let out a relieved laugh. We actually did it." But as they turned to leave, a distant echo whispered through the halls, a faint, lingering warning that some secrets are never truly gone. The mansion's atmosphere shifted from suffocating to eerily calm as the gang made their way toward the exit. The heavy silence was almost comforting, a stark contrast to the haunting whispers that had plagued their every step. Velma's mind buzzed with thoughts, piecing together the fragments of the mystery they had unraveled. The heiress was trapped by someone close to her, someone desperate to hide the truth, Velma explained, her voice steady as they reached the front doors. Her disappearance wasn't just an accident or a ghost story, it was a calculated act of betrayal. She paused, glancing at the others. And those mirrors? They weren't just reflections, they were echoes of guilt, sorrow, and unfinished business. Daphne ran her hand along the cold wood of the doorframe. "It's almost like the mansion itself was a living memory, refusing to forget." Scooby barked softly, as if in agreement. Just as Shaggy was about to push open the doors, Velma stopped him. "Wait." She pointed to the last intact mirror near the foyer, its surface shimmering faintly. "There's one final piece." The gang gathered around the mirror, peering into its depths. This time, the reflection wasn't distorted or haunted, it showed a small, dusty box hidden beneath the floorboards of the mansion's study. "The key to the mystery," Velma breathed. Whatever was concealed there might finally bring closure. They hurried to the study, their footsteps light with cautious hope. Beneath the creaking floorboards, they found the box, old but intact. Inside lay a bundle of letters and a locket, dusty but precious. Velma unfolded the letters, revealing a secret correspondence between the heiress and a trusted confidant who had tried to protect her from the dark fate she met. The betrayal was deeper than we thought, Velma murmured, tears shining in her eyes. But these letters prove her story, and her hope, that one day, the truth would come to light. As the sun rose outside, casting golden light through the mansion's windows, the oppressive shadows finally lifted. The mansion, once a prison of illusions and sorrow, now seemed to breathe freely. Scooby wagged his tail, and the gang shared a rare, genuine smile. Yet, as they stepped into the morning light, a single shard of broken mirror, unnoticed on the floor, caught the sun's rays, reflecting a faint, unsettling glimmer. Had the mansion truly released its secrets? Or was some part of its darkness still waiting, just beyond the reflection?